Hello YouTube, my name is Marie and today I'm doing a sort of a review. I don't know exactly what to call it because I don't make videos like this. I'm just jumping back in here to elaborate on some of my thoughts on a show after I've already done a first impression. Usually if I'm talking about a K-drama, it's a first impression or a full season review. And I'm doing this video for one specific reason, and that's because you guys have asked for it. The response for my first impression, my thoughts, my review on It's Okay Not to Be Okay was just lovely. Thank you guys so much. I had some really wonderful comments and quite a few people asked me that I should continue to review the show. And that's kind of what we're doing today. My thoughts for episodes between 2 and 8. I know that there are 10 out at the moment, but I'm behind. I have not watched episode 9 and 10. This video is going to be spoiler free. I won't talk about plot at all, and I know that might disappoint some of you guys, but there's quite a few reactionary based videos going around, like reacting to each and every episode, and so like if you really want someone to talk about the plot with, I think those videos would be better. So I don't really want to be redundant. What we are going to talk about today are the aspects of the drama that I've noticed since making that first impression. So 6 episodes that I've watched since making that video, I have noticed things that I absolutely love that deserve so much praise that I just didn't talk about in those first 2 episode reviews. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And really, it's only praise because this show is just perfect entertainment. I can't think of a single thing I'd want to change about it or that I have a critique on. So again, this video is going to just be like a gush video. Again. So in no particular order, I think I have about 6 points. If I'm looking over here, that's because I'm looking at my notes. The first one I do want to talk about is the show's portrayal of an autistic individual. I know in my first impression, I spent quite a good amount of time talking about this and how I just loved the more positive tone that I found it really likable, very genuine, very endearing, but also really real. Like, this character is not just a culmination of autistic symptoms. He's a real person with individuality, and that's so important. I bring this up again because a few commenters on that first impression video, commenters who have real life experience with autistic individuals, also praised the show, and that is so important and I think deserves an applause. Because representation is so important. Honestly, I just love the show even more knowing that this portrayal of someone with autism is authentic and accepted by community members and not just like a shallow stereotype. So next I want to talk about the music. And I don't think I talked about the music at all in my first impression. All of the different styles of music that are happening. I love the sound effects. If you watch K-dramas, specifically like more romantic comedy or comedy K-dramas, you know that like K-dramas do those like quirky little sound effects. The show has also added something that goes along with our female lead where it's like psycho, psycho, psycho. And I just thought that was so great. Elaborating on this very eclectic music style, we also have so many different genres going on with this show. I could not pigeonhole this show into one or even 2 genres. Like, it would be impossible. There's romance, there's comedy, there's suspense, there's like a little bit of horror. Just a little bit. Like, there's so much going on. It's blurring all of the lines and it's doing it in such an engaging and beautiful way. Like, they're using puzzle pieces that you don't think would fit together, but they're making a beautiful thing. For instance, like in episode 3, there's a character who's a slasher, you know, and they put this like elephant sticker over his private parts and it's actually animated. Like, the elephant's horn goes up and then like goes down. Cartoonish thing to add to the show that you wouldn't think would work, but it does. Like, it Okay, so the next thing I want to praise is all of the visual and like story element cues and callbacks to fairy tales. Some of the more obvious ones I think would be to Beauty and the Beast, and they also acknowledge that. The previous episode where I was like, oh wow, this is really Beauty and the Beast, and I love that, like the whole castle and her in it, she's kind of like the beast. There's like a section of the castle that she doesn't want anyone to go in. There's also like a big library. Like it just had a lot of elements that were reminiscent of Beauty and the Beast for me. And then the next episode they acknowledged that, and I liked the acknowledgement. It was like they were acknowledging my own intelligence. Like they want you to draw your own comparisons and draw your own conclusions about what established fairy tales mean to the story, which I think is great. Like another fairy tale that I want to say alluded to, but alluded to would be for something that's not quite obvious, and this was obvious, but the fairy tale is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's like little Easter eggs. I think the repeatability of the show will be really high. Like I can't wait to rewatch this and rewatch it, being able to binge it. Like I just want to see all of the things that I've missed the first time around, because they're obviously there. The director and the writer are smart enough to be planting these little Easter eggs. Oh my goodness, the conversations between our leads are such gold. Every interaction between the two of them like catapults their relationship forward, and I believe it. These two individuals just seem like the people that would forego small talk altogether and jump right into their childhood trauma. Last thing I want to talk about before I say a few of my favorite moments. Don't get too excited, I've only written down 3 and the entire show is like one big favorite moment. The last thing I do want to say is that I love how this show is toying between reality and fantasy. There's certain elements like a supernatural ghost or like a haunting, which in one way, if they said yes, there's actually like a ghost in this place and yes, there's a haunting, I would believe it. But then on the other path, if they said that there was like an actual scientific explanation, I would also believe it, because our female lead, she like gets really bad nightmares, and visually you see some sort of figure like hovering over her. If you haven't heard of this, that's actually a condition called sleep paralysis. And so like with sleep paralysis, like you wake up but like your body isn't awake, and a lot of people have hallucinations with sleep paralysis. The show could later explain these really horrific nightmares as sleep paralysis, and I would believe it, or they could explain it as a true haunting, and again, I would believe it. It feels like the show has one foot in reality and one foot in a fantasy. They don't have to explain it either way. They could leave it up to the interpretation of the audience, and I think that would just be as satisfying or even more satisfying than spoon feeding us all of the answers. Let me know down below, do you think that there are any magical elements actually happening with this show? I love how they showed conditions of some of the patients. Like, I talked earlier about the flasher, and earlier in an episode he's like reliving a moment and we relive it with him, and then later you see it from an outsider's perspective and what he's actually doing in real life. And I loved that duality, that you are seeing what this mentally ill person is seeing and experiencing, and it's so real, and then you see what other people see. It's genius. It's just genius. Okay, so on to a few of my favorite moments. First one that I wrote down, ooh, spoiler warning. This is a spoiler warning. When she cuts her hair, the genuine smile that she gives. Also the lead up to cutting her hair and how they showed it as such an intimate moment between the two. There was also some comedic elements thrown in there when he says he's been cutting his brother's hair forever and she's like, stop, put down the scissors, like I don't want a mushroom cut. That was so funny. So the whole situation surrounding her cutting her hair, it was powerful. It was like a healing moment. It was a bonding moment. It was just great. I loved her cutting her hair. And another one is when she spends the night at his place and like she locks him out, and then like there's quite a long take, and like she opens up the cupboards, or the, what are those called? Shutters. She opens up the shutters and talks to him from the outside. But I just loved the way that was shot, and I loved them interacting together. I thought that was really good. And the last favorite moment I'm going to talk about is when his brother gets very upset with him and then like actually attacks him. I think it's like on the lawn of her castle, and you see, oh, such powerful acting, you see like hatred in his eyes, and our male lead starts crying, like he cries afterwards, and I was like, such powerful acting from everybody. Alright, that is it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video because you made it happen. I was not going to film this, but so many people asked me to continue giving my thoughts. So here they are. Leave it a like and a comment. Definitely let me know if there are any other fairy tales that you can spot that they're making reference to. Have a good day. Have a good night. Bye.